Buhari says government will not be stampeded into spending savings from implementation of Treasury single account.
Federal government promises enabling environment for local production of essential drugs.
And Nigeria moves closer to implementing an electronic satellite border patrol.
There are human traffickers moving, in and out. Now, you must have the capacity to respond rapidly. So these two must go together.
Good morning, Nigeria. Today we focus on the appetite of state governments for foreign and domestic loans leading to a debt overhang.
According to statistics available to us, states of the Federation owe an estimated debt of 3.2 trillion naira in both domestic and foreign debts as at May last year. Now, among the most indebted states are Lagos, which is said to owe 418.2 billion naira. Kano is owing 294.5 billion naira. Rivers is said to be indebted to the tune of 138.3 billion naira, while that of Jigawa is put at 117 billion naira.
Well, the highly indebted states have one thing in common, and that is that they accumulated the debts through foreign loans as well as the issuance of domestic bonds. Now, some financial experts have described the domestic and foreign debt profiles of a number of states as scary. Now, the states are said to be in such debt that only a small amount of their allocations from the Federation account get to them at the end of each month, because after debt repayment deducted at source, they have very little left in their kitty.
Indeed, Kingsley. Now, this precarious financial position of many of the states became very evident last year, of course, when many of them were unable to pay staff salaries due to the debt issue. Now, about 20 states, including, just quickly name a few of them, Abia, Akwa Ibom, Bauchi, Benue, Cross River, Ekiti, Imo, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, Kogi, Ogun, Ondo, Osun, Oyo, so many others, of course, Rivers, Zamfara, were most hit. Now, the federal government, therefore, was forced to organize a package of measures, including a specially set up central bank intervention fund worth 250 billion naira to bail them out of their biting cash flow problems. Kingsley, of course, remember that there was also, a ban, so to speak, from the central bank, preventing or banning governors or state governments from acquiring loans, foreign loans.
Well, not just foreign loans. I mean, in particular, getting loans from commercial banks in Nigeria, because those are usually short-term loans, but of course with very high interest rate. That's the particular area of intervention by the central bank. Now, in an interview recently, the Katsina State Governor, Alhaji Bello Masari, painted a grim picture of the situation of the states and the inevitability of additional major reforms. Now, he revealed that some of the states, after all loan repayments and other deductions, are left with less than 60 million naira from their monthly allocations from the Federation account.
All right, and also the Debt Management Office, DMO, has categorized states of the Federation into 3 groups now with regards to their solvency profile. While some states are already in the danger mark as a result of their high level of indebtedness, others are considered close to critical on the domestic debt sustainability analysis scale. Now, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Zamfara, Kogi, Ebonyi, and Adamawa states, according to the report of domestic debt sustainability analysis undertaken by the DMO, are all on the danger list.
Well, a number of analysts have blamed the debt overhang on the number of the states on the lack of frugal management of resources, as well as the penchant, for bonds and loans. Now, some of the analysts also believe that the federal government ordinarily ought to restrain the state governments from getting access to foreign loans. But as it were, the Federal Executive Council recently approved over $500 million foreign loans for Lagos, Rivers, Osun, and Ogun states for the implementation of infrastructure projects.
Well, also, Kingsley, in addition to those, and of course, in addition to the bailout given to the granted those states, some northern state governors, led by the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum and governor of Borno State, Alhaji Kassim Shettima, led a delegation to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to do what? To obtain what is described as a multi-billion-dollar loan from the Saudi Arabia-based Islamic Development Bank, IDB.
Well, why is this insatiable appetite of state governments for loans, foreign and domestic, on the rise? Are states following due process in obtaining these loans? And who monitors the utilization of the loans?
And Kingsley, I'm sure you do remember the Northern Governors prospect for loans from Saudi Arabia has also come under severe criticisms, especially from some legislators. And the concern is those states are so much in debt such that obtaining more foreign loans would amount to mortgaging the future of generations of their people. Now, these are some of the issues we shall be considering in our conversation this morning. I am Claire Adilabu Abdulrazak. Welcome to the program. It's broadcast from our studio here in Abuja.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo, and I join Claire in welcoming you to this edition of the program, in the course of which we'll have our regular companion segments. These include newspaper review, arts and entertainment, and business, and others. In the meantime, we're going over to the newsroom, and here is Ann Jibuno with the news. Hi, Ann.
Yes, thanks a lot, Kingsley. Good morning. Here is the news. The federal government says an enabling environment will be created for the local production of essential drugs instead of relying on importation. President Muhammadu Buhari stated this while receiving a delegation constituted by Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library to develop a healthcare agenda for the country. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari says in spite of the savings made from the Treasury Single Account, TSA, his administration will not be stampeded into spending on projects as was in the case in the past. Speaking in an interview with NTA News in Doha, the president emphasized that past mistakes have to be avoided.
There is supposed to be some feasibility studies. Contractors are identified, given the documents to go and quote, and then tenders board out. That's the normal thing. So just because we have stumbled into TSA money, 2.7 trillion, as you said, we just don't start issuing contracts left, right, and center. Nigeria, in spite of the enormous money we got, we failed to diversify our economy, and now we are paying dearly. And we need the cooperation of other OPEC countries to see how we can stabilize the market.
Some people back home have started insinuating that the focus of your government is gradually shifting from the West to the Arab nations. Some even say you are trying to Islamize Nigeria. How will you respond to that?
I think that's an unfair observation. Within the week I was sworn in, I went to Germany, invited by G7. Then I went to United States. Why isn't it that nobody made comment? And just because now I have been to Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and UAE, and their regional observation. So head or tail, you cannot win in Nigeria.
In the meantime, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has urged Nigerians not to ignore the call to bring an end to the scourge of cancer in the country. He was speaking shortly after being robed as patron of a committee known as Encouraging Corporate Philanthropy in Nigeria.
The good news, though, is that most cancer deaths are preventable. According to WHO, 1/3 of cancers are preventable, another third curable, and the patients in the third can have a good quality of life with appropriate care. I'm pleased to support this initiative. The selfless commitment of the men and women behind it is, for me, perhaps its most important reference.
And from the National Assembly, we hear that the Senate has passed for third reading the amended 2015 Federal Capital Territory Appropriation Act. The amendment gives effect to the implementation of the 193.8 billion naira capital budget provision and extends the FCT financial year to the 31st of March 2016. Nigeria is now closer to implementing an electronic satellite border patrol system. The patrol system is an intensive computerized surveillance system to be used by the Nigerian Immigration Service for border security and control. The indication came when the Minister of Interior, Abdulrahman Dambazao, visited the Nigeria Immigration Service headquarters to monitor the pilot project for the system, as was demonstrated by an ICT firm.
Not in the Lela borders where you have your men. You have it somewhere there in the remote.
There are no men.
Part of the blind spot. Yes. Now you identify through your camera that there is a challenge there. There are human traffickers moving, in and out. Now you must have the capacity to respond rapidly. So these two must go together.
In the meantime, the Nigerian Army has deployed a platoon of newly launched combat motorbikes into their areas of responsibility in the northeast. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuko Buratai, stated this during his in-theater visit to some locations in Borno State.
Added firepower, speed, as well as with the communication that is being added, the reach of this motorbike will be a very important element in ensuring that our troops can maintain the initiative and continue the exploits they have so far achieved.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the present administration will leave no stone unturned in ensuring that publicly owned media organizations are rated far above private media. The minister was speaking while receiving the laurels won by the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, at the Nigeria Media Merit Award 2015.
That this administration will do all it can to ensure that publicly funded media are rated as well, if not better, than the privately owned media. The situation today where the privately funded media houses are being preferred to the publicly funded media houses is not acceptable to this administration. We believe that in terms of human resources, in terms of talent, in terms of equipment, even in terms of exposure, there's no reason publicly funded media houses should not do better.
The Consumer Protection Council, CPC, and the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, have signed a memorandum of understanding to enforce the mandatory 60-day order to electricity distribution companies to either meter or stop billing consumers under the Credited Advance Payment for Metering Implementation Scheme. The Director General of the CPC, Mrs. Dupe Atoki, and the Acting Chairman of the NERC, Dr. Anthony Aka, at the signing ceremony, condemned the seeming foot-dragging of discos in metering consumers as outlined in their performance agreements with the government. The collaboration has become necessary to create a conducive environment for both investors and consumers of electricity supply in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, as he turns 74 today. President Buhari believes the revered Christian leader who paid him a courtesy call at the presidential villa and who he had interacted with many times before epitomizes the virtues of honesty, peace, patience, contentment, humility, and diligence, which are the trademarks of a good believer. As a Christian leader, the president commends Pastor Adeboye's relentless efforts, sacrifices, and the grace of God upon the life of the General Overseer, who has over the years propagated the gospel around the world, organized large gatherings of Christian worshippers, and consistently counseled leaders and citizens on living right before God. A statement from the special advisor to the president on media and publicity says the president prays that the Almighty God will grant Pastor Adeboye long life and more strength to carry on the good work. Well, that's the news. It's back to Claire and Kingsley for more on Good Morning Nigeria.
All right. Thank you very much, Diane Jibuno, for the news this morning. Now it's time for us to take a look at our business segment. Bank customers are reacting to excessive bank charges as the protest to boycott banking activities on the 1st of March records partial success in Abuja. Sheun Ogunloye has details in our business package.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Taste the nectar of paradise. Chi exotic nectar in pineapple, coconut, multi-fruita, and other exotic flavors. The taste will take you there. Chi exotic nectar, escape to paradise.
From the House of Chi.
Another time to look at developments in the world of business. In protest against excessive bank charges, bank customers under the umbrella of Consumer Advocacy Foundation of Nigeria, CAFON, and Coalition of Nigerian Consumer Protection Association on March 1, 2016 staged a boycott of banking services across the nation. The two bodies had called on bank customers across the country not to enter banking halls, make transfers, deposits, or make use of their cards for any transactions during the No Banking Day on Tuesday, March 1, 2016. Although the messages were sent via the social media and calling for the boycott, but the action was not effective in Abuja, as observed by NTA Business News.
This has been called upon by Nigerians, but for one or the other, some are observing it, but not everybody are observing it, probably of one thing or the other. But the policy and the idea and the essence of actually calling Nigerians to actually stay away from the banks was a right one.
Nigerians are coming out to say no to hidden charges. Nigerians are coming out to say no to unnecessary charges. That's what we call it, especially when it doesn't affect the regular life of Nigerians. And Nigerians are angry.
You don't know how your money keep on disappearing. If you leave 5,000 naira in an account, in next 1 year you will have like 2,000 naira. How? It's too bad.
what the government should do is to get the banks to use their minds. The banks are sitting back there just waiting for people to bring money and they take some of it. We want the banks to get Nigerians to be busy, encourage investment, small and medium enterprises.
Reports from Lagos showed that the action was a bit successful in the state as many bank customers shunned banking activities for the day. The cry against excessive bank charges had increased after the banks were directed by the Central Bank of Nigeria to deduct 50 naira stamp duty collected on behalf of the Nigerian Postal Services, NIPOST. The group also frowned against the practice where the CBN changes policies without notifying Nigerians. All right, still on banking issues, bank customers who wish to change the names on their bank accounts to entirely different ones due to the ongoing bank verification number BVN registration and accounts linking them will henceforth tender a letter from the Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU. The letter from the NFIU absolving such bank customers from any fraud case will be accompanied by other relevant documents before the bank can effect the change of name on such accounts. These was contained in a circular issued the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and signed by its Director Banking and Payment System Department, Depo Fatokun, directing all banks to allow their customers having difficulties in linking their BVN to their account to effect the necessary correction. Fatokun in the circular noted that the CBN had received a report of customers facing difficulties linking their BVN to their accounts due to discrepancies in their records on the BVN database and core banking application with the deposit money banks. To resolve the problem, he said the CBN approved that correction of dates of birth on BVN records should be corrected once with the relevant supporting documents evidencing the correct date of birth. Other corrections approved by the CBN includes change of name due to marriage, which should be corrected by providing the supporting documents such as marriage certificates and affidavits, while minor correction in name due to misspelling was approved for correction with supporting documents like international passports showing the correct name. And that's the package on the business news. This time it's nice talking business with you. Good morning, Nigeria.
Many thanks to you, Seun Ogunleye, for the business package. We're moving on now, and coming up next is newspaper review.
Bayo Atoyobi is here with us for today's edition of a newspaper review. Bayo, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Kingsley, and good morning, Nigeria.
Okay, let's begin with the Punch this morning. The lead story of the Punch has an exclusive story, according to it, with a kicker. Exclusive. Essay speaks. Essay Oruru, of course, is a 14-year-old who was abducted from Bayelsa and taken to Kano. Essay speaks. I'm not fine. Details on pages 4 and 5. It has a writer. Emir Sanusi deserves no credit, and this is attributed to Essay's father. Now, that's also the lead story for Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Daily Trust has it as a double-decker headline, Bayelsa girl to reunite with parents today. Now, a writer says how they came to Kano by Yunusa's friend. That's the other headline there from the Daily Trust newspaper. But just below the headline and the front page of the Punch, you have composite photographs of the scene yesterday at Ikorodu in Lagos, where there was an abduction of students from a seminary. The photographs, 4 photographs you can see there, and the headline reads, Ambode, that's Governor of Lagos, says, silent as 15 gunmen abduct 3 Lagos schoolgirls. And it has a writer, male students and guards resist invaders. Details can be found on page 2. Claire.
Okay, Kingsley. The story about the essays issue is also on the front page of the Telegraph. But the lead story on the front page of New Telegraph is tragic day in Lagos. Tragic day in Lagos. Has two riders. Gunmen abduct 3 school girls as parents withdraw children. Explosion kills 3 vandals and mast falls on buildings, 1 injured. And just below that, you can see the picture stories of the various incidents. There on the right, you have the fallen telecom mast at Ereko in Idumota area of Lagos. You can see the picture there. And just below that, the burnt civilian Nissan bus loaded with stolen petrol somewhere in Nusirat Aziz Street in Isolo, also in Lagos, and that also happened yesterday. And on the right side, you find the broken school fence where the abductors escaped with the girls. Of course, that's the seminary school in Lagos, and destroyed parents at the Babington Macaulay Junior Seminary in Ikorodu yesterday. Just above the masthead, Obasanjo, Eradua, Jonathan must account for recovered loots. And this is coming from the court. The story is right there above the masthead of the New Telegraph. And it's also a very strong lead story on the front page of the National Mirror. Just before I quickly hand over to Bayo, National Mirror leads with it. Court orders OBJ, Eradua, Jonathan government to account for recovered loots. Okay, I'll stop at that. We'll take more other stories on the front page of the National Mirror. Bye.
Thank you. Well, let's go straight to the story of the abducted girl in Kano and another abduction of 3 girls in Lagos. First, the girl in Kano, Mrs. Rose Oruru, mother of the 14-year Upolu girl, is expected to be reunited with her daughter at the police headquarters today. The girl and her captor, Yunusa Kura, was brought to Abuja yesterday. Kura was reportedly brought in handcuffs because he's supposed to stand trial. But governors have reacted about the story. The governor of Kano said that those who are behind it should be prosecuted. And he also has expressed dismay that he was not aware of the development until he read the development in the newspaper just a few days ago. Similarly, the governor of Bayelsa says that whenever the girl returns, they are going to help to rehabilitate her. The parents of the girl are from Uyeli in Delta State, and Governor Okowa also says that the police should pursue all those that were involved in the abduction. And he has also advised parents that whenever anything happens to parents, they should speak up and not keep quiet, because this incident had happened as far back as August last year, and it was only of recent that he heard about it. Members of the House of Rep have also condemned it. But the interesting development is from the Muslim rights concern, which says that attempting to marry a girl without parents' consent breaches not only common law but also Sharia. The Mary quotes the Quran as saying that the woman should be married only with the permission of their parents. The issue of conversion, it says, does not arise because she, being a minor, is deemed to be an adherent of her parents' religion until she attains maturity. Mr. Charles Oruru, the father of the girl, says that when they once went to Kano, and when they went there, they were told that the emir had actually issued a letter since 26th of August last year that the girl should be released, but it was not done. Yunusa, who is popularly known as Yellow, used to be a customer at Mrs. Oruru's food canteen. And the claims are that some say he adopted the girl, others say he eloped. And Charles Oruru says that his daughter was hypnotized and he will have to take her to Prophet T.B. Joshua to have that dispelled. The other one is the 3 girls at the Babington Macaulay Seminary. 3 girls were taken away when 15 gunmen invaded the seminary. Parents have quickly withdrew their children. They are blaming the seminary's authority for not providing adequate security. They say the fence for the college was very low and security men available there were not adequate. The boys in the seminary were able to stand their grounds. It was only the girls' end that was vulnerable, and for which 3 of the girls were taken away.
That's very sad. Let's quickly take some other stories. We have very limited time. And still on the front page of the National Mirror, just above the masthead, 153 Nigerians on death row in Malaysia China over drugs. And on the other side, power generation drops to 2,800 megawatts. You can find that story on page 6. And below the story, just at the bottom of the page, fear over possible sack of Oyegun APC chairman as aggrieved PDP members form new party called PMP. Details of that you can find on page 3. Now, 2 billion naira Orosonye's fraud case reassigned. There are quite a number of other stories. Kingsley.
Well, let's take a look at the Daily Trust, and just below the name flag of the Daily Trust is that story that Claire read earlier. PDP, ABGA splinter groups float new party. Details of that can be found on page 15. And just immediately below that, CCT adjourns Saraki's trial to March the 11th. And then below the photographs on the front page, you have 3 cartridge headlines, the editor's choice. The one on Nigerians on death row in China and Malaysia, and then arms deal. That's the kicker. Court orders release of Jonathan's ex-ADC. Details on page 7. And very quickly from the Punch newspaper, there's an earpiece just beside the name flag. Bullion van escort opens fire on Falaye's car. Falaye, of course, is the former secretary to the government of the Federation. The details of that can be found on page 12. And above the name flag of the Punch newspaper, there's a headline, details on page 25, and it reads, Dangote, Adenuga, Tedola, and others on Forbes billionaires list. And then on page 54, 2015 governorship bid plunged me into debt. This is attributed to Agbaje. It's on page 54.
Okay.
Bayo, that's the much...
That sounds like double jeopardy. Wanting to serve and then you incur debt to come to service. Let's quickly take 3 of the stories that have been reviewed. One is that the pronouncement by Lagos High Court that the government of Nigeria since 1999 breached the privilege, the transparency and accountability requirement of government by not disclosing what was recovered from looted funds and how they were used. And therefore, the case brought by SERAP has come to the fore, and that President Muhammadu Buhari has been asked to give a tally of all such funds and how they were expended. The other 2 stories are that of Chief Olufalaye. He was going to on an Afenifere function to visit the Oni. Then there was a long queue of vehicles. Then he attempted to overtake, not knowing that there was a bullion vine ahead. And in the attempt to overtake the bullion van, the policemen there shot, I think, at his car. They are supposed to have shot into the air to try to. Right, but for want of time, I think I should be able to call it.
Thank you for your understanding. You always do. Thank you very much for coming. We'll hope to see you again tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right. This is Good Morning Nigeria. If you've just joined in for the first time, it's reaching you live from Africa's largest TV network, Nigerian Television Authority. We'll start a conversation in just a moment.
We have always lived together as brothers and sisters. Though we speak different languages and celebrate different cultures, we were still one Nigeria. There was no bombing, there was no kidnapping, and our children were not cultists. Now, we suspect one another as there are spreads of cultism, bombing, and kidnapping. How long shall this go on? Terrorism is alien, kidnapping is criminal, cultism is barbaric. Nigeria is a blessed country. Support the Nigeria Police and the fight against terrorism, kidnapping and cultism. Always inform the police of any incident around you. Say something when you suspect something.
Remember, we all have a stake in building a crime-free Nigeria of our dream.
This message is from the Nigeria Police Force.
Are you aware that the death percentage attributed to Lassa fever cases is currently put at 43.2%, a figure considered very high? Lassa fever, an acute viral illness characterized by high fever, muscle aches, mouth ulcers and bleeding in the skin, is harbored by rats and spread to humans via the urine and droppings of rats. To prevent Lassa fever, avoid any exposure with rodents, rats, as well as food and objects contaminated with rat secretions and excretions. Report all suspected cases of Lassa fever immediately to the nearest health